Have you ever found a weaving pattern or a project online or in a book and decided that you would really, really like to give it a try, but the yarn that you have on hand is not the yarn that is specified in the pattern? How do you know whether you will be able to substitute the yarn that you have for the yarn that is specified? I'm Glynis from Weave at Brooklands, and my answer to that question is that you should do a yarn wrap. Now, I know that a yarn wrap is not a definitive answer. It doesn't always work out 100%, and it isn't always absolutely right. It certainly can give you a very good indication of whether you're on the right track with regard to substituting the yarn that you have for the yarn that is specified. It also gives you an indication of how to work out the set for yarn that you have. So if you're kind of freewheeling, you don't have a pattern, you have the yarn and you have an idea of what you want to make, but you're not following a pattern at all, by making a yarn wrap, you will be able to calculate the set or the size heddle that you would need to use for your particular yarn. Making a yarn wrap is a terribly simple thing to do. All you need is some form of a yarn gauge. And this is the Ashford yarn gauge, which is the yarn gauge that I use. It has an inch cutout in the top and a centimetre cutout at the bottom. And it has this little tag, which gives you an indication of how many wraps equal more or less which thickness of yarn. So I just have obviously a ball of scrap yarn here, left over from a project, and I'm going to show you how to make a yarn wrap. So you just catch the tail of your yarn at the back of your yarn gauge, and then without putting any pressure on the yarn, because you don't want to stretch it out, you want it to go into that space in a very relaxed way. And I'm simply winding the yarn around the space in such a way that nothing is overlapped and it's just touching on the top. So there's my wrap, and I'm just going to count the number of wraps that I have. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. You take that number and you divide it in half, and it gives you the size of the heddle that you would use, or if you're weaving on a table loom, it would give you the set for a balanced plain weave. In this case, that would be 7. Now, primarily on Ashford looms, we don't have a 7 DPI reed. We have a 5 or we have a 7.5. Excuse me. Obviously, I'm going to simply take it up that half step and use the 7.5 reed for this. If I ended up with a number that landed almost squarely between two different reed sizes, what I would do is I would look at the function of the cloth that I'm wanting to make. So if I wanted something soft with a lot of drape, then I would say, okay, I'm going to use the slightly coarser reed for it. If I were making something that I wanted to be a little bit more robust, to be a little bit more dense, then I would use a slightly finer reed for it. So it isn't 100% the right answer, but it is a really, really good guide. And I do encourage you to use this if you're ever in a quandary. If you'd like to leave a comment below, that would be great. And there's a link to my website as well. Please feel free to pop along and have a look.